Hey everybody, welcome back. Derek here. Psychedelic's going to be put on the back burner for a minute, maybe for a couple weeks or so. We shall see. And don't mind me, I've got my tank top on today. It's a little toasty out. We're in a heat advisory, so I figured better dress appropriately. Anyways, the reason I'm here today, in case you hadn't seen a video in a while, there's a reason for that. In case you missed the blurb I put on YouTube here, I had mentioned that I had to cancel a live stream that I was planning on doing on July 17th. And I thought I was going to do maybe 2 or 3 streams during my little vacation break. But, if you've been following me on Instagram and catching up with the news, yeah, it's not music related in any way. So just forewarning, I'm going to keep myself together here, hopefully, as well. This is like one of the better days I've had in the last week and a half, I guess you could say. So July 17th, I started my vacation. I had some vacation days to use up, which was a Thursday and Friday, and then I was supposed to use it this past Thursday and Friday as well. But I ended up having almost a week and a half off from work, waking up to the news at 7 a.m. that my mom passed away. So, being the only child, being a mama's boy, yes, no shame in that. This is one of her high school portraits. Taken, I think this was taken back in my hometown. Yeah, just really love that photo of her. Her name was Mitzi, and yeah, you don't hear that name often. Mitzi, Mitzi. Like I mentioned, being the only child, being very close to her, we took a lot of road trips together. Spent a lot of time together. She was kind of my go-to parent. Could ask her anything. She was like my Google AI, It's like she always had an answer, but maybe it wasn't always the best answer either. Kidding aside. Yeah, so it kind of starts from early this month in July. I went back for the 4th of July weekend, and I went back a little early, like July 2nd. I think that was on a Wednesday, and my mom was having trouble breathing, and she was on an oxygen tank, and I was like, well, you should be admitted. And of course, my mom, I guess she was more stubborn than I thought. She didn't want to stay overnight, and I was woken up at midnight to her kind of heaving and losing oxygen once again, and it was like, okay, we need to get you to the ER. And thankfully, my parents live 2 blocks away from the ER. So this is not my first rodeo either. I had to do this twice with my dad. Well, once with my dad to the ER, but that's a whole other story. First time with my mom, so I knew exactly what to do. I backed up our family vehicle and hauled ass to the ER, and the results could have been very different that evening had I not been back. We almost lost her that first time, but I got the wheelchair all set out and got her on the bed in time. The nurses were there, and she had to be life flighted out of town, and I drove up to see her. And I'm kind of, summarizing this. There's a lot of detail I could say, but, being a personal, private manner, I'm just kind of glossing over the details a little bit. I only got like 1 hour of sleep that morning, and that never happens to me. I always get good enough sleep, so I was just drowsy going up to see her the next morning, and I just could not believe she was still verbal at that time, because I was just thinking the worst. I guess some of us just kind of think that way. I tend to think on the worst side of things, but I was just so amazed to hear her voice talking to me and joking around, and I was just like, I hope you learned something from this, that you need to take your health a little more seriously. And I think in some ways she does. Both my parents say they do. They practice what they preach. And I don't know if it's with just my parents' generations, the years between like 55 and 65-year-old parents around there. They're just so stubborn. They don't want to go to the doctor. Or maybe they do, but they can't afford it or something. Something else gets in the way. But it was kind of an eye-opener to my mom, and she was back pretty much at the end of the weekend. So just, didn't really feel like much of a holiday break. I was not in a celebratory mode. But anyways, we got back, and it was a pretty quiet week for the most part. I tried encouraging her to work out, exercise a little more, because my mom, over the years, she has gotten a little more overweight. My mom, I don't know what you want to call her, maybe just, she's always been a little on the chunkier side, not super heavy, but it started building up towards that as she got older, and just had these drinking habits a little bit with the soda, and she's had so much she had to suffer through. She's had neuropathy in her feet. Recently was infected with UTI. She's had one kidney for a long time. Her one kidney shut down. Just a lot of different things going on. And everything leading up to this, before the first incident, that July 2nd, her body was giving her signals that, I don't know, that maybe she was shutting down. We really don't know what the exact cause was, other than that, she was kind of losing consciousness a little bit, running out of oxygen. We thought maybe it was COVID related. She works at a healthcare facility, but also maybe a blood clot issue. We really don't know. But yeah, she had a little incident like this last year in July, and then just seemingly not as many issues happening. But every time I'd go home, I'd always see her, and she would just bring 100% to her workplace and just collapse in the evening. And I just think her body was just overrun with, maybe stress from work. I don't really know. But as I mentioned earlier, it was kind of a quiet week and a half, a full week. And then on that Thursday morning, I got the phone call from my dad at 7 a.m. I was just, I just kind of felt the dread, like something's not right. And yeah, he just asked me if I was sitting down, and I'm like, there's my answer. So I hightailed it back to my hometown and saw her in the recovery room. Yeah, that was, I did not, that was like the worst condition I'd ever wanted to see my mom in. You could just see the discoloration in her face from loss of oxygen. And she just woke up that morning. She was hoping to go to work. She was going to take her pills, and she had to sit down. She was just losing air, and she even lost it more quickly this second time around. The ambulance flew down soon after my dad called for help, and she was just gone by that time. So, and my mom was only 58 years old, by the way. Fuck. That sucks, man. But way too young, way too soon. Because being the only child, I mean, she was my everything. She always kind of joked around and said that her music taste rubbed off on me. But we definitely had a little difference in music taste. That's for sure. But definitely the love for music is where this all kind of ties together, and why I'm kind of making this video also. Yeah. So anyways, it was a lot of me kind of orchestrating the funeral, helping my dad out a little bit, because this was just a new experience for both of us. My dad lost his mom pretty young, when he was only like 6 years old. My grandma, both my grandparents on my dad's side, I never got to meet. They passed before my time. I didn't really know too much about my grandma, unfortunately. My dad, but also his siblings, were just too young and to process or just understand who she was as an adult. And she died even younger than my mom. I think she was only 37, 38 when she passed. She passed in her sleep. But yeah, the funeral, the visitation, everything went really well. I mean, it's kind of sad. The only time we get together as a family is when we meet either in death or as a wedding. But that's just the way it is. But it was just really nice to reconnect with everybody and just see the impact in the community that she left, in the small community that she worked in, because she was a face that you just see around town. And yeah, just like I said, just left an impact, and left the biggest impact on me. I mean, this is the biggest loss of my life, bar none. Just really, really is. And this is just the first few days of my life without my mother, and it's just a whole new reality check. Just seems like the fun's just sucked out of life right now, and ever since the funeral, I've just been kind of in a head fog, kind of a daze. And I will say though, the last couple of days have been better, but it's going to be a long haul. It really is. You know, my dad hasn't felt the best either with all this happening. I mean, we kind of grieve in different ways, I guess, but he's been kind of putting off surgeries as well, stuff that he's been needing done. And I'm just like, we need to get this done, man. So he'll be having surgeries pretty soon, but he had to come to Lincoln here right after my mom passed, but made it back just in time for the funeral. But it was just like, you know, I'm juggling both parents. I can't lose both my parents in 1 week. So I held it together pretty well, and I think a lot of it is to do with my mom's spirit. I mean, she really taught me well. I mean, she kind of handled the same situation, the same grieving process when she lost her dad, which was about a year and a half ago now. It was like October of 23. I just wanted to update you guys on what's going on, and I'm really glad I made it through the video without tearing up. This is a heavy blow. This is a heavy hitter, man. The gravity of this loss is going to be pretty lengthy. So I don't know when I'm going to be coming back, because this is obviously, you know, what we do over here with record collecting is a lot of fun, right? And I just want to make sure that I'm in the spirit of showing you what I love and making sure the, you know, any of the sadness or any of the gloom and doom doesn't enter into the picture, because, you know, a lot of this stuff is on my mind lately. And, yeah, it's just, it's a sad year all around. So, anyways, rest in peace, Mitzi. It's my mother. Show her here one more time. This is one of my very, very favorite photos of her. And, you know, the number one thing to know about my mom, she never loved taking photos with anybody. You'd think we'd have a lot of photos together, but the subject never even came up, because I knew my mom. She never liked taking photos. But there's even some portraits of her as a child where she's just kind of got this grumpy face on her. So, yeah. I'm just really glad I got a lot of my calm habits and kind of my calm nature from her. And, you know, and I just carry the legacy. So once again, don't know when I'll be back. Hope you guys can understand that this is kind of it's going to be a long grieving process. I just came back into town yesterday, so it's going to be a long one. Maybe in about a couple weeks or so, I'd imagine, but we'll see. Anyways, Psychedelic will return when he's ready. So take care, everybody, and just hug onto the core of your family. Just hug them a little tighter today. If you made it through this video, because you know, there's some days where I wish I said I love you to my mom a little more, and I kind of wish we ended on a better note on our last phone call, because it just it wasn't in the spirit of like, this is the last phone call I'm going to have with her. And you know, this is a little more personal than I'd ever say on here, but I wanted to mention too that all my life I've struggled with things like faith, and you know, growing up in like a sort of organized religious kind of way. And to this day, I still struggle. And it only got prompted into my life maybe about 5 years ago that I actually started taking this stuff kind of seriously and do all my reading, my research, you know, see through the weeds a little bit. And I still, even after my mom's passing, struggle and have my doubts about what the afterlife gives to us. I mean, I always think of it as like, you know, we're just worm food afterwards. We're just thrown into the dirt, and just the way we came into this earth, it's just another black void. We don't know. So I don't want to be the one to claim that I know, because I do not know. But I have some people helping me out with my faith and just my way of seeing the world. And I don't expect anybody to help me out except for myself. I got to learn on my own. So um, it doesn't hurt to research, I guess. You know, I guess everybody kind of goes through those phases in life, but mine was a little late. So, anyways, I'm kind of dragging on and on here, but just wanted to make an update video, and we shall see you soon. Thanks for watching.